Hey guys, this is Chelsea. Thank you for coming to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about my experience living abroad and teaching abroad. I went to three places. I went to Nicaragua, Saint Dizier, and then South Korea. So I'll talk about each of those. And if you're interested in that, then stick around. Okay, so first up we have Nicaragua. I was there for about a week when I was at University of Kentucky. I can't remember what year. I want to say like maybe 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. But this is my first experience being outside of the States, basically. So I was born in Germany, but I was only there for a few months. So basically Nicaragua was my first experience outside the States. But I was there for a week and we taught English there, and it was really my first experience seeing just how people live, basically. I know that in the States, it's viewed as like very privileged, and in Nicaragua it was interesting to see like the lack of resources for people and the challenges that the children had to get to school in the first place. So that was really eye-opening for me, and it really made me appreciate, just like the life I had at the time and the privilege that I have. But people there were so nice. Like the kids were really friendly, and they were just like always like so excited to be there, and they just seemed like they just were like happy to be alive, which was like really beautiful to see. And they had like a lot of songs that they sang throughout the day, and so they asked us to like come into like their little garden in the back. I remember like singing songs with them and playing games in the courtyard, and that was just like a really beautiful part of my day. And the sunsets there are just like absolutely breathtaking, and the food was really good. We had rice and beans mostly, but I also remember it because that was the first time having white pineapple. Like I ate so much of it that my mouth like was sore from the acidity. So probably had a little bit too much of it, but whatever, that's okay. But yeah, Nicaragua was my first time, and it was a very short amount of time, but it was a very good like taste of experiencing other cultures. And from then on, I just like had the travel bug, and I wanted to keep doing it, basically. And so I also next up taught in France. I taught in Saint Dizier with Inter-Exchange. It's basically a program where it's mostly in Europe, I think, but you go abroad and you're teaching English. Of course, in France, you're also an au pair because you're living with the family. So before I left, I was supposed to be there for 3 months, and the family was going through some personal things. However, they asked me to still come and teach their child. She was 11 at the time, and it was a little bit uncomfortable for me, just a little bit awkward being in that sort of like personal situation. But the family was very kind to me, and they had their own chocolate business. And Saint Dizier is in the Champagne Ardennes region, so I was able to have champagne in the region for the first time. So that was really, really cool experience for me. And Saint Dizier is about 3-hour train ride to Paris. So I was in Paris pretty much every weekend, like every chance I got, I was there. I went to a bunch of museums, and I was there for hours. I would go to an Airbnb and just like try all the food basically that I could get my hands on. And it was really cool because also at the time I was learning French, so it was a really good chance for me to expand my language skills. And I actually really do miss speaking French. I just like how I sound when I'm speaking French, and it was like a really good challenge for me to, figure out the grammar and the vocabulary and everything. It was a really good time for me to expand mine in that way. It was also my first experience like doing lesson plans and teaching English to someone like more personally. It was definitely an experience that I wasn't ready for. I was very young at the time, and I had no prior experience really doing lesson plans or anything like that, because when I was in Nicaragua, it was like more of a group thing, so we taught as a group. But going from that to going to France and then teaching just one-on-one, that's like more intimate. And it took me a while to figure out how to do lesson plans and what she wanted to learn, and really how to teach someone English or a language in general is very difficult, especially when you don't have like a textbook to show you. And like I said, I was very young and I was like very naive at the time, and I was not ready for that experience, but I am glad that I went. I was there for, like I said, 3 months, and I was actually thinking about like coming back home at one point, but I really just wanted to stick it out, and I wanted to make sure that I followed through. Even though I didn't have a contract or anything like that, I just wanted to make sure that I actually gave it the college try and give it the full experience that it deserved. But yeah, I don't regret it at all. It was like, Saint Dizier is like a smaller town, so it was a little bit more isolating than, of course, the big bustling city of Paris. But it was a really good chance for me to be more insular and to be like more to myself and to figure out what direction I wanted to go in life. And it was a really good space for me to do that. My favorite place I ever taught in this last one I'm going to talk about is South Korea. I was in Jeonju, which is about 3 hours south of Seoul. And I was in Jeonju, but my school was about 40 minutes away in Dongyang. And even though I was in the city, the point of the talk program is to teach in rural areas. So the school I was in the countryside, and I was pretty lucky because I only had one school I had to teach at, and I know that some people had to teach at like 2 or 3. So I was very lucky to only have one school that I went to every day. And I took the bus in, and it was like, bumpy like country roads, and it was out in the middle of like fields and stuff. But it was a really beautiful experience because the school I was at was very community based, and so the students helped during lunchtime, and they actually had a garden in the back, so they took vegetables from the garden and they ate that during their lunch. And the kids also some of the students worked on the farms for their families, so some of them were like a little bit lower income, but it was really beautiful just to see how important they were to each other and how much they loved each other. I had a co-teacher, and she was Korean, and we got really close too. I taught her English, and it was interesting because like my contract was only for the after school program for the actual, teaching English in the talk program. But I also like taught her English, and I was also teaching the teachers once a month at the after school. And I was also teaching at the church that my co-teacher went to. And so this is my first experience, like experiencing burnout, and I was very hard on myself. This is my first time being in a classroom setting, making lesson plans for more than one person. And even though I had small class sizes, it was overwhelming because, like I said, it was the first time doing it. And because it was the first time, I feel like I was a lot harder on myself than I should have been. And there was a lot of days where I went home and I was just completely depleted and exhausted. And some days I would go straight from the school to the church. And then I'm also like in the car with my co-teacher, so I'm teaching her English as we're in the car, And so it was a lot on me at once, but I had a lot of opportunity for vacation. There's a lot of vacation days. And so I went to the Philippines, I went to Thailand, I went to Malaysia with friends. And that was like so beautiful to travel with them because Korea is in a really good location to be on a flight to go to all those different places. And I remember we were in the Philippines and we went on this mermaid swim in the ocean. The mermaid swim, like your legs are together, obviously. And I'm not the strongest swimmer. And so I like almost drowned that day, basically. I shouldn't be laughing at that. But I definitely almost drowned. And I was like trying to come above water to tell my friend that I wasn't doing okay, that I needed help. And she was like, oh my God, yeah, this is so fun. We're having such a good time. But she didn't hear me. And so like slowly I started like descending into the water, and then she called over our guide and was like, oh yeah, she needs help, can you help her? And so I came out of the water and they brought me over to the boat, and I was just like hanging on to the side while my friends were taking pictures and like having a good time. And the guys on the boat were like, are you okay, ma'am? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just like just very embarrassed right now. Yeah, like those memories like that, like I could never get those again. And those are the things that I think about when I'm doing my travels, it's just how like those are once in a lifetime, even though I almost died. Like I just miss like being in the moment, and like that's not something that I would experience here in the States, I don't feel, especially because like when you're abroad, you meet people who are also in the same position you are. Like I met my best friend there in Korea. And so it was just really beautiful to have that moment with people, because I feel like it's similar to like when people go to summer camp or when they do like a play together. I feel like you bond so much quicker because you're in this like very unique experience that only you guys are having at that moment in time. And so like a lot of the friends that I have now are friends I met abroad, and I just love connecting with people in that way. And I just felt like very safe exploring in Korea as well. It's a very safe place to be. Like I would go home at 3 a.m., walk down the street and like not be afraid of being catcalled or like being harmed in any way. I know I'm speaking from experience as a foreigner. Like I know I'm not someone who's like native to Korea, so my experience is different obviously than those who live there. I won't speak for them, but I just really loved Korea also because it was very outdoorsy, which reminded me of Colorado. People hike a lot, they are very active, and the food there is very clean. Like it's like a lot of vegetables. And I just remember like eating so much fried chicken and like kimchi, and the fruit there was really good. Because our orientation was on Jeju Island, and so they have like these really like delicious small oranges, and I just ate boxes of those while I was there. Like my fingernails were actually orange for quite a long time. But yeah, I really did miss Korea. I feel like it's just a very welcoming place to be. People were like very curious, you know. And of course, like with my hair being like this, there were a lot of stares, and there were a lot of people who would like come up and like touch my face and touch my hair. But that's just like trying to remind myself that they haven't seen anyone like me before. Like, you know, Korea is like a very homogenous country, at least when I was there, you know, and there are foreigners. But I just feel like that the place that I was in, specifically in Jeonju, there weren't a lot of foreigners. And so it's natural for people to be curious about you. You know, it wasn't like coming from a malicious place or anything. It was coming from a place of curiosity. And so it's like helpful to just like remind yourself of that, you know. Obviously, like set your boundaries, like make sure you're safe and that you are comfortable. But I just feel like context is also very important. Yeah, but I also do want to have one more note and just say that if you are planning on teaching abroad and you're doing like a contract type deal and you are going to make lesson plans, just make sure that you actually want to teach English and that you are going to give it your all, because teaching English is not something to be, you know, taken lightly. And I feel like I'll speak for, you know, when I was in Korea, like it was viewed as an important part of their education to help further their careers and to help further their lives. And so they do take it seriously. And so I would just encourage you to question while you're there teaching, and to make sure that you are there also for the job as well as to experience the culture, of course. But I encourage you to not use it as an excuse to go abroad, and just to make sure that you are in there for the right reasons. But yeah, that's my experience teaching. I'll leave Inter-Exchange, and unfortunately the top program is no longer available. They ended, I think, last year, but their sister program, Epic, is still available, but that is more full-time, so you're teaching throughout the day. And so you're teaching for more hours, but you do still have a co-teacher, and you still have an apartment and a flight that is paid for you. And I do want to say, when I was there, I feel like my salary was around 1,300 USD a month. So it was nice because I was able to have savings, and I wasn't paying for my rent, and I, you know, had a stipend for my flight, which is really great. I do feel like Asia does pay the most. When I've looked at other places like Spain or France, for example, they don't pay as much, but, you know, obviously you're capable of doing your own research and Googling all this stuff. I'm just helping as a resource. So thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you guys for the next one. Bye.